My name is Emebiriodo Ugochukwu. I'm a visual artist and photographer. I used to work as a curator at some point in my life. But yeah, I pride myself as someone who basically like freezes moments, because I think my medium is just photography. I think the art itself is more like storytelling, and photography is my medium. Yeah, I was born here in Lagos, Nigeria. I went to school somewhere in Port Harcourt. I enjoy the chaos of Lagos sometimes, but not so much. Yeah, basically. I also really enjoy, I think, the idea of just being like an observer. You know, I enjoy people watching. I feel like people come outside sometimes to just entertain me. You know, I like mini fights. I like when people dance. I like youth culture. I like when like black people are just existing. You know, like black joy. It kind of like gets me going. To be very, very honest, I only started photography because I'm a very lazy person. When I got into uni, I used to write like short stories. Then I figured out that poetry was like a shorter version of short stories, so I leaned towards like poetry. But when I was leaving uni, I was like, oh, do I have to write? How many people even read these days like that? People read, of course, but I was like, what is something that captures, like, instead of writing like an entire paragraph or like writing an essay, what can capture words without actually using words? And photography was able to do that. And with my like literature background, it's kind of like easy for me to see a scene in my head. Normally stuff I would have to write an entire paragraph for, I'm able to actually just create that in like a picture. So when you sometimes encounter my images, you realize that the longer you stare, there's something that actually starts to, I think that's the English part of it. I like Lagos, but I don't know if I like it too much. I think one of the beauties of living in Lagos is it trains you for other places. Like Lagos can be sometimes so hostile that if someone were to be hostile to you somewhere else, you're just like, wow, you should come to Lagos and learn some hostility. Because yeah, it's a very great like landing point. It's also a great place to meet people from like all walks and all sorts of like careers and backgrounds. So I kind of like enjoy that, yeah, that mixed mash of it. Lagos makes it very difficult to actually photograph outdoors because people are very, very hostile. If you point the camera towards someone, it could lead to an entirely different thing. Someone seizing your camera or something. I think Grand Popo. Grand Popo is like a small place in Benin Republic. It's close to the border. The entire stretch of the town is a beach, and just has like two roads, I think. And I like the idea of someone riding a bike down the street and you can just hear the echo of the bike, like it's just quiet. And because the wave is constantly crashing, it's somewhat loud. But there are times during the day when it just goes really quiet for like 2 seconds. And I kind of like look for stuff like that. Yeah, Grand Popo. I really, really like Grand Popo. I think I'll probably start off with why I actually started doing photography, like the proper why. And when I left uni, I wanted to travel. I wanted to see Nigeria. I wanted to go to all these nice places. But every time I would Google somewhere, I would only probably see text around it. And maybe some shady looking photo of it that somebody took on the techno from like 1982, and anything else you'd find that portrayed those places was probably taken by a white person, right? So I was like, why can't the Nigerian person just do this? So for at least when I started, it was mostly because if there's another Ugochukwu somewhere that needs to do this or wants to do this, there should be documents that's available, visual or otherwise, that could like guide this person in a way, something that sets like a standard, right? So I took it upon myself to actually like create images I couldn't find. You know, those kind of images that have like a feeling. It's not like poverty porn or something that like African kids like flies on their head or something, no. Something more enjoyable, you know. It doesn't have to be too serious. I think I like that as well. I'm very relaxed in a way. Sometimes I don't even ask questions about why or what or when. I just think it's documenting ourselves from like our own perspective is like, it's not a lot of people are doing that. And I think it's my job now to just, yeah. So composition wise, I think about the place, the people in the frame, how exactly am I like portraying these people? Am I showing them the very best light possible? So even if I were to photograph a market woman on the road and I get the opportunity to photograph someone like Nifemi Marcos Bello, I treat them with like an equal amount of like sensitivity and respect. So I wouldn't say, oh, because this person is this, I would treat them like that, and if this person is that. So I'm giving everyone like proper access to a great photo. So we got, even for like landscape wise, because it's not just people, like both landscape as well. I tried to portray those places in a way that I want you to come, you know. I want that, like, come with me, come and see, let's see these things, you know. Yeah. So I'm more of an observer in context to that. But for, let's say I'm shooting a concert and it's Wizkid, of course I love Wizkid, I'm literally like jamming up. But for other spaces, I think it varies according to the city, and we should also be aware that the person taking the photos is human. Sometimes my mood and emotions will play like a role. But one of the things that actually, like, every time I take a photo I think of is, I want to be like the mirror or like the window. You know, when you like open like a small window and you can see like so much. I want to be that person, right? And I want you to be curious about the space, the people, but also in a way be like slightly curious about me. And sometimes I'm part of the story, other times I'm not. But I like like a fly on the wall approach, you know, something candid, people just being themselves. Because like me in front of this camera, and I'm very stiff because I'm very much aware that all of the lights are on and all that. But when people are just out in, like, I call it the wild, but when people are out in the wild and just doing their thing, it's easier. People are, and you can tell from like how the pictures end up turning out, because people aren't very stiff or they're not so aware. So I kind of play the role of God, with a small G, of course, but yeah. Can I say money first? No, I feel like guys have to. But I feel like when you're not paid in Naira, it's very different. Like, you enjoy the work so much, but yeah, that's like the first thing. That's like my driving force. But aside from that, I think Monocle. Monocle primarily because 2 different editors reached out to me, and like the feedback I got from them was very nice. I did the May at, I think I did the design awards for them in May. Then I was like, oh, I was afraid. I was like, oh, maybe this work wasn't great enough, right? Then like 2 days after they published, I got another email and they were like, oh, we're doing a June art special. We need you to do Lagos for us. And I was like, oh, wow, oh, okay, wow. So yeah, then for The Guardian, because I had to do Oshun Shogbo for them, and because it's kind of like a story that is both happy and sad at the same time, because it was for the festival, the Oshun Shogbo festival, but we also needed to like shed a little bit of light on the contamination of the water itself. So yeah, it made me ask more questions. Normally I like to just like allow people do their thing, but for some of those, like especially for The Guardian, I had to ask questions, I had to read up and also write. So yeah, maybe The Guardian followed by Monocle, of course. Yeah, the fact that but I don't know if I enjoy writing, because I mentioned it before, I'm very, very lazy. It's not like I can't do it, it's just, I like to do stuff really well. That's why I don't do a lot of things. If I don't know how to do it properly, I don't get involved, right? If I were to write for you, I want the words to be as vivid as my pictures. Like every time you flip through a page, it's just all in your head, like proper imagery. And I can't write that in like 4 days. I need time. I just like take time, you know, and do my thing. Left to me, I would probably just be an artist, right? Just do that work. But knowing the country we live in, you know, you have to do what you like to finance what you love, right? And yeah, I spent so much money on buying my camera that I need to do commercial work to make it back. But I enjoy the arts, but the arts also it makes you sit in front of, like, it makes you the star, and I don't think I enjoy that part of like the arts. For the commercial part, if someone pays you to do something, you're just there, get it done, and it's over with. But with the arts, you're there, people want to analyze your work, you know, people want to understand context. But I like money. I don't know. but yeah, I'm just being honest.